So Dylan, can I say you actually enjoyed a baseball game?
I mean, I guess I'm
That's
like,
Say it.
Yeah, I
Say
get it.
he liked the game. He was unbelievable.
I mean, this might have been the greatest game I've ever seen.
Hello and welcome back to Dodger Debate. I'm Jack Harris, the LA Times Dodger beat writer, along with our columnists Bill Plaschke and Dylan Hernandez. And, well, I think we witnessed history tonight.
Jack Flaherty. What a story. My man Blackjack, Delta 21.
Got through 5 1/3 strong innings. If it wasn't for him, the 10th inning never would have happened the way it did. Yeah, so Freddie Freeman hit a walk-off grand slam, the first ever in the history of the World Series. All sorts of shades to Kirk Gibson with him playing on a sprained right ankle. It lifted the Dodgers to a 6-3 win over the New York Yankees to win Game 1 of the World Series. What was your reaction to that moment in the 10th and what Freddie Freeman did to win the game?
I think as the only one of us who was actually here in 1988 covering the team, I saw what it did to the Oakland A's. I saw how Gibby's home run devastated the A's. This has devastated the Yankees. I don't see him getting enough from this. So much like Kirk Gibson, one leg, 2 outs. Nobody thought he could do it. Everybody thought he was finished. Everybody thought he couldn't walk. One swing, go from losing to winning against a mighty team. I don't know how the Yankees recover. I think the Dodgers, I don't think the series comes back to LA. The Dodgers are going to win it in New York.
Kind of like broke my brain, honestly. I mean, I'm sure a lot of my readers will say my brain's already broken. But like, it's one of those things, right, that I think as time goes on, we're going to really kind of be able to grasp like the magnitude of. You mentioned the Gibson home run. I was 8 years old at the time, and that was probably like the first sports moment that like I remember. I remember my dad being so happy, and by extension me thinking like, oh, sports must be really important if, it could make my dad this happy, right? And, and tonight, my 11-year-old nephew was out here, right? And he's going to remember this the rest of his life. And it's really hard to kind of put that into, kind of encapsulate what it all means at this moment, given that I think the meaning of this home run and the meaning of this game is going to, continue to grow, not only over this series, but over, probably like the next couple of decades, right?
Yeah, I think especially when you layer in the really rich subtext to that moment, which is, even going back to the regular season, Freddie Freeman's son battling, GBS, not being able to walk for a little while, him having to step away from the team. When he comes back, he was struggling at the end of the season. He sprains his ankle the night they win the division. He hasn't looked like himself for most of the postseason, even though he's been playing in most of the games and doing some things, a lot of things, especially early on, to help the team get to this point. And yeah, it's something like, as you're watching that moment unfold, right? He comes to the plate, the bases are loaded. I think the last thing anybody was thinking about was him putting the ball into the right field pavilion. I mean, that's not the kind of hitter he is. It's definitely not the kind of hitter he's looked like this postseason. And to your point, Plash, like that does feel like one of those moments that it's not just the historical significance of it, it's not just the shock value of it, but yeah, if you're in the Yankees dugout and you had grinded through this game and you took the lead in the top of the 10th and you're 1 out away from winning, I mean, the short-term importance is huge. The long-term significance is only going to be amplified, especially if the Dodgers go on to win. And yeah, Freddie Freeman came up, after he rounds the bases, he goes and he celebrates with his team, and then he comes up behind home plate and he gives his dad, who's his longtime coach, pitched BP to him forever. He gives him a 2-handed high five, and I went down and I found his dad later, and even he couldn't put it into words just how you can't script a moment like this, and how happy he was, and how he was joking. He just wanted Mookie Betts to get the hit before Freddie, and instead of intentionally walking him, just because that moment for him there was so much pressure into it. And yeah, I mean that's the kind of stuff that you get in October, right? That you only get in baseball.
It was so sudden.
Moments like that.
I was actually looking down, and I heard the crack. It happened so suddenly. He got to the plate in his first pitch, first swing. But we have to remember, this is important to remember, this will only be memorable if the Dodgers win the World Series. If they lose, it's not going to mean anything. If they win, it'll be Kirk Gibson-esque.
How much do you think, we talk about momentum all postseason, you kind of touched on it, but like, how much does this kind of change the dynamic of the series when you have a moment like that, when you have a player who's had the kind of postseason Freddie Freeman's gone through deliver something like that? Like, is that something that, how tough is that to come back from?
I think because I think if the Yankees were going to win this game, right, and the game had different stages. First, it was that they had Guerrero Cole out there. That was supposed to be their advantage, right? They had Cole, they had Rodon coming tomorrow. In theory, they have the starting pitching advantage. And they kind of imposed that on the Dodgers early on, right? Now, I felt that when the Dodgers tied it, right, when Ohtani and Mookie Betts kind of just like willed this run, right, to tie the game, now all of a sudden it's kind of swung back the other way, right? And the Dodgers might be able to steal one of these games, which would have been huge.
Right. You have the matchup of the bullpens
right,
at that point.
Exactly, because at the beginning it's the disparity in the starting rotation. Then all of a sudden it becomes like, right, both teams are in their bullpens, clear advantage to the Dodgers. And then the Yankees go ahead, and now this kind of feels like, well, this is going to be a big win for the Yankees. And then that home run, I think, right, and like you said, it wasn't just about, kind of the theater of it. It's the fact that this was the type of game that the Yankees had to win, right? They got a really good start out of Garrett Cole, and they lost that game.
He had Aaron Judge at the plate in the ninth inning with two runners on. He could have won the game for him right there, and he popped out. Aaron Judge was terrible. He's not terrible overall. He was terrible. He was awful.
Yeah, I mean, that said, how would you like to be Nestor Cortez? He goes out, he throws two pitches, right? He hasn't pitched like in a month and a half. He grooves 2 pitches down in the nitro zone there. I mean, Ohtani just, like, I went back and I looked at that one. I mean, yes, he missed it, right? But I don't blame him. And initially, I was kind of like, man, he swung at the first pitch. That wasn't a bad pitch to swing at. I mean, that thing was right down the middle. And then the other one gets put into the seats.
Not to mention the way where he hit it, it forced Alex Verdugo to run over and flip over the wall and leads to the intentional walk that brings Freddie Freeman to the plate. And I think to what you're saying, Dylan, like this was the kind of game the Dodgers hadn't lost this postseason. They burned their leverage guys tonight, trying and pitched. And the Yankees found a weakness on him, which was stealing 3 bases in the top of the 10th. And Jazz Chisholm getting to third and then scoring on a grounder. Michael Kopech had to pitch. Both of the left-handers had to pitch. This bullpen is missing Evan Phillips. Like, this is the game that we've talked about in the last couple rounds. The Dodgers could not afford to lose games where they use their high leverage guys, where they're in it late, where they're set up in a position where moving forward, right? Like, you don't want to waste those bullets. And I think the totality of, like, the way this game played out and then the way it ended, like, I agree with you guys. This is a really tough situation for the Yankees to come back from. When you don't win a Garrett Cole start, when you don't take advantage of the Dodgers using their top relievers like that, and now you go into, the overall momentum shift that the bottom of that 10th inning provided. Like, yeah, it still could be a long series. The Yankees still have the starting pitching advantage, but for it to open the way it did tonight, it would take something, I think, pretty drastic for the Dodgers to not kind of carry this on and at least go to New York up 2 games.
I don't think the Yankees are as good as the Mets. I think the Mets are better than the Yankees. I wasn't impressed with them at all. This is the one chance they had to steal a win and they blew it.
Maybe. Like, the thing I'll say about the Yankees is the Dodgers had a tough time figuring out what to do with Juan Soto. You saw the other parts of their lineup that can contribute. Giancarlo Stanton hit, a home run on what was not a bad pitch from Jack Flaherty. Like, it is a potent team that can generate its own, momentum shifts and jump on an opposing pitcher and build a big lead. But, that's why the Dodgers had to win this game, right? They had to give themselves some breathing room in the series. They had to give themselves a chance in a game where they used some of their top relievers to go up a game now.
I mean, you guys know this. I really don't care who wins, right? I get paid the same.
You do?
Like my adrenaline.
I'm paid more. If they win, I'm paid more. You're not?
No, I don't get anything.
You're paid more.
I get a bonus.
And
A blue
we got all these
bonus.
commemorative books coming out. You can buy them at LATimes.com or something. I'm not going to see a dime of that.
I get what's called a blue,
You get
blue bonus. I get a blue bonus.
Blue bonus.
For every win I get paid. You don't get paid? You didn't do that?
What do you get paid at Dodger Stadium bucks?
Yeah.
No,
You get an extra meal voucher.
But that said, that's why, I asked Freddie at kind of the end of his news conference, is just like, is your adrenaline still jacked? Because mine is right now, and I wasn't on the field, right? I didn't gain anything from this, and think about it if you're in the opposite dugout, right? What was that like?
So Dylan, can I say you actually enjoyed a baseball game?
I mean, I guess I'm
that's
like,
Say it.
Yeah, I did.
Say
No,
he liked the game. He's unbelievable.
I mean, this might have been the greatest game I've ever seen.
Unbelievable.
Might have been.
Yeah, or he is. I don't know. I don't know. Remember, well, because you know how our former beat guy, Andy McCullough, used to write these 100-inch retrospectives on
Clayton Kershaw.
On weird, Clayton Kershaw blew it, you know. Right, what was it, Game 5 or what? Yeah, I don't know.
The sliding doors of Game 5.
This wasn't Kirk Gibson exactly. Kirk Gibson was Dennis Eckersley, and Eckersley was unhittable. And Gibson was really had one leg. He couldn't walk. He didn't play again in the series. Freeman's going to play again tomorrow, right? So Gibby.
Yeah,
well, you're calling me negative, and now you're just crapping on this great moment.
No, I'm just saying it's very much like Gibson, but Gibson's was in the big scheme of things. Gibson was a greater moment. It was a bigger moment.
You don't think Nestor Cortez is gonna go down in history like Dennis Eckersley?
No, I don't think so. Nasty Nestor, no.
2 months off from pitching, Nestor.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, outside of the 10th inning, I can't even remember.
I can't. No, that's
what
the
else
thing,
happened in this game?
Yeah, I mean.
There was like a sac fly.
Oh, a fan caught a fly ball.
Reached over and.
Oh, you know what sucked for that guy, man? He had like a 5-year-old kid with him, and he's like, "Let's get out of here."
Well, I think you get ejected when that happens.
Yeah, well, he kind of was like, yeah, so that was kind of sad. I do want to say this just because I've always pointed out Max Muncy's defensive deficiencies. He played some nice defense today. He had a couple of really nice plays out there.
I mean, that was another thing just to this game entirely. The Dodgers, who have not been the most fundamentally sound team for long stretches of this year, were the more fundamentally sound team tonight. I mean, you think about Gleyber Torres not being able to cut off that throw on the Ohtani double in the 8th inning.
He was jaking. He wasn't even playing hard. He half.
I think long-time observers of Gleyber Torres have gotten used to this, apparently. And I think that's, again, like one of the key things. To me, one of the bigger takeaways is like we thought this was going to be a relatively even matchup, even if we thought the Dodgers lineup might be a little bit better and their bullpen gave them an advantage. But like there is not much separating these teams, I don't think. Unless Aaron Judge continues to, I forget which adjective
he stinks. He stinks.
But that's where like a lot of little things I think the rest of the series are going to matter, and it's cutting off throws, it's getting extra bases, and then it's how you handle these late game situations. And tonight, I don't think the Dodgers did it perfectly. Like obviously you give up the run in the 10th in kind of a sloppy way, but they hit the right buttons in the bottom half of the inning, and they got a guy up to the plate who. I think the week off did Freddie Freeman a lot of help. He talked about finding a breakthrough in the batting cage this week with a mental cue. And just did that's like the prototypical Freddie Freeman at bat is just, hey, look for a pitch I can hit, not trying to do too much to it. But when he's swinging that way and he barrels one up, he can send it, 400 feet into the right field pavilion.
I was impressed with that run that they scored. What was it, 8th inning?
The Dodgers.
Dodgers, yeah, right. Just kind of seeing Betts right after that sacrifice fly, just kind of the release of emotion there, right? You really get this sense that these guys are just kind of grinding, and kind of going back to
tonight.
And going back to Muncy a little bit too, right? I mean, we've talked a lot about Freddie Freeman and all the ground balls he took. You see Muncy out there a lot, right? And he's not naturally like the most like balletic athlete by any means, but he's putting in the time, and I think we're kind of seeing that, right? I mean, this guy wasn't very good before.
Dylan has a new guy.
I have a new guy.
Oh, God. Spare me.
Gold glove next year, Plasky. I'm calling it. Max Muncy,
Can we go home now? It's late. Can we go home now? It's late.
All right. Dodgers win Game 1 of the World Series.
And they got their ace coming tomorrow.
And they have their ace going tomorrow.
Not some guy that's going to go 5 1/3.
Blackjack was the hero tonight.
And that's how it will be remembered.
Freddie Freeman helped Blackjack get.
All right, well, we'll have a lot of coverage on LATimes.com, and we'll be back here tomorrow to recap Game 2. Until then, for Dylan and Bill, I'm Jack. Good night.